Here we go.
Yeah.
Showtime.
And welcome to Spotlight Keene. And I'm Chris Coates, and you
Randy
are.
Filio.
And we're back for another week of discussing issues that are relevant to Keene, the county, the state, whatever really,
the world.
whatever really just we were just
Whatever comes to
actually before
mind.
you came on, it was like Randy was looking at it and it looked like his hair looked less gray than it is, but now it's back.
Yeah, oh, no, I like the other camera better.
Yeah.
I lost 10 years on that one.
And mine is, if you hadn't noticed, I got all two hair on my hair's cut, and
You gotta cut tight. Tight haircut.
Yeah, so some people say it makes you look like you have more hair. I just don't really care.
Yeah.
I just don't care.
You get to that
It's
point.
just at
like,
some
whatever.
point when it's windy out and
It's cold.
and my hair's going every which way, and it's like it's time for a cut. So the hairs that I do have. So, well, what's been going on in the city? What's been going on in the county? What's been going on overall? Interesting week. First and foremost, so in a new appointment in the city, I don't think we've talked about it yet, but Andy Bohannon has taken on some added responsibility.
Officially April 1st, I believe.
April 1.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm really excited.
Yeah, April Fool's Day, we'll just tell them the whole thing was a joke and just get back to work,
Yeah, but I think, Andy's somebody that's come up through the ranks, has done a masterful job in the position he's been in as the overseer of the parks, the recs, the facilities, the cemeteries, all that area, and to take on what other added responsibility he's going to be taking on. I think the city will be well served.
There'll be nights at city council meetings when the city manager's out of town that he'll actually be sitting up there as acting city manager, which I'm sure for him will be quite the change of pace. Maybe a little nervous that first night. Yeah. Because some of us have been around for a while. I might just chip at him a little bit.
The thing is that though, I have all the faith, as you do too, that he'll handle it just fine. He will be nervous, but he'll do his homework.
Oh yeah.
But he's also been somebody that's been presenting at conferences all over the country because of the work he's doing here in the city. So
he can speak in front of a large group. That doesn't make him
to all
nervous.
that made that decision, because most importantly, he's a Keene kid too.
Yep.
And like I said last time, he's on the not the right Boy Scout troop, but that's okay.
It's good to have. We've always said, Chris, it's great that a lot of people move into Keene and run, but it's always good to have people that have history here.
Yeah.
And actually can look back and say, remember when?
Yeah.
And you and I can do that, although I'm starting to say, I forgot what?
Well, what's interesting is this past weekend, Raleigh Olmerod had his radio show he does, and so I was on it, and they were talking. He asked me to come on, which really, okay, I came on, and I really didn't take a look at what the topic was. I knew it was something about downtown, wasn't sure, but he had all these questions. Raleigh, I guess he does his homework. He had all these questions, and he had Peter Hansel, he had Tom Julius, and myself, and Luca on, and I'll tell you, all of us had good perspectives. All of us had different perspectives, and none of us had wrong perspectives. And the thing that I like the most about what we have done as a city, and this has started years ago, with Jack Dugan, now it's Cody Morrison, with John McClain, now it's Elizabeth Dragon, but with city councils, with yourself, when I was on the councils, we started looking at the downtown and saying, what's happening? I mean, even in the 80s, they looked at downtown and redoing it. But we said, if we add depth to the downtown, it makes downtown stronger. Mm-hmm. And certain streets went through crisis during that period of time. And so, it's just really, I think it's healthy to look at, when you look at the downtown. I know you're talking about the downtown project. I know your committee is really taking a strong look at it. But it should be a celebration as much as decision-making about what we've done right. And what we've done right is really strengthen Cypress Streets all the way down to the Beaver Brook.
Right.
You've really we've done a lot of work, with Monadnock Developmental Service when they bought Princess Shoe in a partnership with Southwest Community Service.
See, that's where, Chris, it's good to have a history of Keene. When you say Princess Shoe, I'll tell you right now, so many people in Keene would go, what?
Yeah.
What's a Princess Shoe? They don't know.
Yeah.
But
it was a shoe company that was down there, and it was a project that we renovated the building on one half. Southwest Community Services did the other half and did housing. And I'll tell you, to this day, putting carpets down on the floor in those buildings were really hard because of the oil, the machines.
Right, it absorbed all the oil.
It was in the wood, and it would just come up through the carpet at times. I can't tell you how many times we had to change carpets there, but the bottom line is that Ron Farina and others, when they bought the building, because we bought it I think from Ron, and they turned it into athletic and other.
It was called the Fitness Factory at the time.
Fitness Factory, and
remember John Bosa, who played for Miami Dolphins? Yeah. Him and I worked out there together. Yeah, same time too.
Yeah. Well, do two different things.
Yeah. Machines worked for him, but not for me. I can't figure that out.
So, but you think about that. In that building was renovated in the housing. Now it's got other housing across the street. I don't know what's going to happen with Monadnock Family Services administrative building right there that they have, and clinical services they have right there, because they're moving to Antioch. But then you have
Antioch. See, there's another thing. What used to be down at Antioch? Sprague and Carlton. Remember that?
Sprague and Carlton, yeah.
Back in the day. That's off West Street, by the way, on Avon Street.
Sprague and Carlton is. I have chairs up in my barn, and I know that there's a table somewhere. One of my siblings has the table. But my dad, they were having a tent sale. They used to have a tent sale. Yep. My dad went and got a new dining room set for my mom, so that it was. 6 tables big enough to have 3 on each side of these nice chairs, and then my mom and dad.
Probably worth something too.
And so, but it was a great company, a really strong.
Now,
company.
A lot of people thought, for those people that aren't aware of it, Sprague and Carlton, where the Savings Bank of Walpole is on West Street, you remember this too. That was a field.
Yeah.
And so Sprague and Carlton, a lot of people thought it was on West Street because you had the field, and Sprague and Carlton faced West Street, and he used to be one of the biggest employers.
Yeah,
it sat back there. It was just a field all the way back.
Yeah,
now you get the bank.
But then we had Burger Chef that went there, right?
We did. We had Burger Chef
which was actually a really good burger joint.
Burger Chef came in, and then Savings Bank of Walpole. That's right.
Yeah.
Burger Chef back in the day.
Yeah.
Because back in those days, boy, we can really change course here, can't we?
Yeah, but it's important. I think it's important to talk about our history.
Yep.
And talk about, because I think people enjoy talking about yesteryear. And about some of because it brings back good memories.
Speaking of Burger Chef, what was the other burger place on West Street at the time? Howdy Beef and Burger, right next to Dunkin' Donuts.
That's it, Howdy Beef and Burger.
Howdy Beef and Burger, because Dunkin' Donuts used to own Howdy's. And yes, that was my first restaurant management position at 16 years old.
Oh, really?
Yep. Used to.
That was another good little burger joint,
Yep. 16 years old, I was a manager right till 1 in the morning.
Were they national chain, or were they
more local, New England?
Local New England type things?
Yeah. Because Dunkin' Donuts used to be just New England.
Yeah.
And they've expanded out. So, it was just a local little burger joint. And, a few of us youngsters get out of high school, go to work.
There was a house where Dunkin' Donuts...
Mm-hmm. It was a mansion.
Yeah, and they moved that, too,
Tore it down.
They tore it down.
They did. It was a very expensive
mansion.
I
know what I'm thinking of. Gene's Pastries, the top, used to be out in Summit Field.
Gene's Pastry was down the road a little bit where the Keene shop was.
Yeah. No, I know with that. But they when they took the building down, they took the top off, if I remember, and it sat out in the field by the Y.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, for some time. But all that, But I don't know where we were going with this.
I don't either.
I got to step back. I'm at Sprague and Carlton now. I'm going back to before that, but. But no, what we did is we started. You just go up that street, Railroad Street, and you had Moco.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then now it's a church, and it's good because that building's being utilized. Across the street is the Marriott. That wasn't there.
Nope.
51 Railroad Street is mixed use, and so it's got a Cheshire Medical Dermatology in it. It's got a restaurant downtown. It's got office space up there, and then it's got condos on the top. And so and then you just go up to the co-op backside, and so it's just like I'll be honest with you, the biggest blight downtown in my world of thinking is the building that you used to be in.
Oh yeah.
The tap when you had the tap.
Yeah.
And it's just a lack of, it's a landlord's lack of
it's
care.
It's where what he's talking about is the local burgers in the front right now. That building, honestly, is just a poorly constructed piece of crap. I mean, basically, if somebody bumps into it with a car, pretty much the whole building's gonna come down like a deck of cards.
Yeah.
But of course, the notorious Andy Sanborn still owns the building. And
but my thing is, if you just walk by it, it just needs some love.
Oh,
it's too bad because you've got great businesses in there that are caring on the inside.
Yeah.
You know.
The business owners take care of that building. Trust me. If you want to run a business in that building, you're on your own.
Can a bar really succeed? Can a bar really succeed in that spot? Since you've been there. And you were there for years.
Yeah.
You really haven't had another bar that's been able to. Maybe I'm wrong.
They've all gone out of business. One of the problems now is Keene's saturated with bars, but also back when I had it, Keene State had a population of about 5,000. You figure 25% of those are 21 and over, which is the ones that can go out to the bars. Which meant you had about 1,300 people of that age. Keene State's now half that size, which means the amount of 21-year-olds has been cut in half. So you have basically less clientele for that type of business. And like I said, Keene has a lot more bars than it used to. And do I think something could survive? Well, right now that's about a 5,000 square foot unit. I really don't. I've been asked. I've been asked to get back into the business again. I'm like, no. So first of all, I can't stay up that late anymore.
What could go in there, you think?
I don't know. I don't know. That's just a pretty big spot right now. 5,000 square feet is a pretty big spot. I suppose somebody could go in there if they did entertainment and did it right, because the infrastructure is there for it. Mm-hmm. But once again, because who the building owner is, I don't think anybody would be too excited to sign a lease with him at this point, because who knows. He's under federal investigation, and he might have to be selling that building. Not saying he is, just saying there might be that potential. And the good news is, I would like to see somebody local buy that building.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to take away from those that are in that building, because they do a great job. I mean, you got the barber, you got the Japanese place, and I love the barber because he's always out there doing some freewheeling on painting and new designs out front, which is cool. It makes it interesting.
Yep.
You've got Kilkenny's on the back end that's been out there for forever. And it's just an Irish pub.
Yeah,
that's all. There's nothing. It's just Dave Barrett and
he's done a good job.
And Holly back in the day before passing, they did a great job.
Yep. Very non-pretentious.
Yeah.
It's what you would call your classic dive bar.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like in Nooch, but I call it your neighborhood bar where you feel comfortable going in and just having a pop.
Yeah.
It's just good.
It's funny.
It's funny. This weekend we went because it was St. Patty's on Sunday.
Right.
So we went to 21 with some friends.
Right.
And so I ordered my hash, the corned beef and hash.
Yeah.
That they had with some eggs and they're all getting drinks. I'm like, it's St. Patty's. I had a nice Guinness. And they're like, Guinness? It's so heavy. And it's like, it's St. Patrick's Day. How can I not have a Guinness?
It was a good reason.
Yeah. Yeah. So
then you had a couple of green beers.
It was just a nice atmosphere, nice to be out. That's the thing about the eateries in Keene. It's just that you can go in and just relax, see people that you haven't seen in a while. It's just.
Yeah,
it's a good thing.
And this whole conversation started about trying to think where this started from was about downtown Keene, and this is all part of the equation. You've got to have a successful downtown, and you've got to keep it successful because I'll pick on Claremont again. When you take your eye off the ball and downtown clears out, it's hard as heck to bring a downtown back together again.
Yeah.
And Claremont's a perfect example of it, where too much infighting among their city leaders, and the downtown, quite honestly. It's almost like Laconia. They took their eye off the ball on their downtown, and now it's just a bunch of empty buildings and a couple of dollar stores. Mm-hmm. And people don't realize, some people do, but not everybody. And kudos to city councils, current and in past and in the future. Downtown is always a focus. That we got to keep downtown vibrant, because you lose your identity.
Yeah.
And look at Brattleboro. Brattleboro, in my opinion, their selectmen have taken the eye off the ball. They're losing anchor stores. When you lose anchor stores, you lose smaller stores. And then you lose those unique stores, and then what do you wind up getting?
So what have they lost?
Stores.
Army, Navy. What else have they lost?
Well, there's actually Amber Moon has come to Keene. And Jackie, she owns Salon Jackie over in Brattleboro. And they right down below the Colonial Theater.
Okay.
And actually, they were there a little over a decade ago, and now they've come full circle. But when you speak to them about what's happening in Brattleboro, Brattleboro, so-called caring, but a lot of people won't even go out to eat in Brattleboro at night because there's so much open drug dealing downtown.
Really?
And you talk to people who are caring, but your downtown only survives if your businesses survive. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people want to be huggy and feely, and they said that about Keene's downtown. Let's just take it to more green space. But the truth is, if you don't have successful commerce, you don't have a downtown.
Well, it's been one of my things that I have always said, that if you're going to go through this process, respect don't get blinded by him, but respect those individuals that have put their vision on the line. And,
absolutely.
And it's their creation that they've come down. It's right. Their financial world to them. That's all that. And some of them are just barely making it, and others are doing better. And some of them, somebody said the other day, well, the restaurants are doing great downtown. And I don't know that. No. I don't, what I do know is that people are utilizing them, and that's because of their service. That's because of their quality of food. And if because of that, the waiters and the waitresses and the owners are all making money, that's a real bad thing. And somebody like the Stage, they've been there for years.
Right.
Years.
And
they're passing it on to the next generation. That's exciting.
Yep. And the Stage had a couple of off years, and then they had a good year and they expanded. You remember they doubled their size. Having been in that industry, your margins are very small. You can't afford to have off time.
Yeah.
Back when I owned the business,
it's a mom and pops thing, isn't it?
Yeah. We were busy pretty much 6 or 7 nights a week. And the problem was, since the new people over the last 15 years have gone in there, they kind of aim to be busy Friday and Saturday nights. You can't survive on 8 or 10 hours a week. You're paying the bills for all 7 days. You cannot have 5 slow days and then 2 busy nights. Well, that's a recipe for disaster, rather.
Yeah, but haven't you seen some of the restaurants? And I think Luca was one of the first that I remember seeing this. Was like on a Monday he would be open, on a Sunday he wouldn't be open, and now I'm seeing like Muse and Fireworks. I think they actually split the days, so one is open, the other one isn't, kind of thing,
right.
Or half a day for one and the other half day, whatever it is that they're doing. But it's exciting to see all these other things coming up. But we still have holes. We still have Miller Brothers. We still have the Bridal.
Well, the Miller Brothers, that's an interesting one, because I had somebody talk to me the other day and said, well, they went out of business because the rent was so high. And that's not true. They owned the building and they sold it.
Yeah.
They sold for good for them, for a good amount of change. Mm-hmm. They wanted to retire. There wasn't a lot of takers for their business, so they sold the whole building.
Yeah.
And a Massachusetts firm owns it. And they own it. They're holding out for top rent.
Yeah.
They could probably get somebody in there, but they're holding out for the rent. And most of the money comes from the apartments upstairs anyhow. So they're not in any hurry. They can hold out.
Yeah.
And then you have the Timoleons building, and that's a struggle, because whoever buys that building has to put a lot of money into it. Yeah. That's we've talked about this before. That's an investor that has more money than what I have.
Mm-hmm.
And then the only other hole downtown, I believe, is the one that we talked about, the building that I used to be in, right next to Local Burger. There's an empty spot there where the bridal shop was. And I think the reason that spot is empty is because who the building owners are. I don't think anybody's too comfortable going in there right now, signing a lease when you really don't know what's going to happen. But if you look downtown, and kudos to Brandy Wells, she's, we talked about this before, when the furniture went out, I was nervous that that's a big spot and they're going to be tough to fill. Bang, immediately Brandy goes in there. Brandy, in one of her spots, she moves out, and as we've talked about before, one of your favorite places goes in, an eatery, mm-hmm. and that's going to be opening up soon. And then she leases out the other spot just for local events. So when you look at downtown Keene,
it's not just an eatery. It's a cake and brownies and yummy.
Yeah, but that's eatery. It's everything that you can eat.
That's my lunch, dinner, and breakfast right there.
There's all your food groups right there in one, you know. So Keene does well historically. Keene does well. Obviously, there's going to be the issue with the downtown construction project coming up, and that's going to be another conversation that we're going to have with the business owners when we finally decide how the finished product's going to look. You know, we're in discussions with the downtown. How do we do it? What comes first? You know, what side of the street gets torn up first? Mm-hmm. How do we do it? How do we get people on? If the street's torn up, do they have side entrances they can get in? Is there a back door they can get into? We need to make it work. We can't afford to have anybody struggling too hard. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be a major conversation, that we do it right, get it done as quick as possible, and so nobody suffers. But no, I actually thought, Chris, when the downtown project was announced, that if a storefront was empty, it was going to be hard to fill, because people would say, well, you know, this is going to be a mess here in about a year. But no, they're filling up pretty rapidly. That people are genuinely, they're concerned, but they also feel that the city council will work with them to do the right thing. And we will. We can't afford anybody going out of business for a construction project.
Yeah.
But no, it's going well. A couple empty holes, but you look at Brattleboro, downtown Brattleboro is becoming one big empty hole. So I think we might have to go over there and recruit a couple of more businesses and bring them over here. But you talk to people in Brattleboro, they come to Keene Friday and Saturday night to eat, and then there's the Colonial Theater, which is the anchor for downtown.
Yeah. Or where?
The Colonial Theater.
Oh, here. In Keene. The Latches over there.
It was, but you know, I went to one show at the Latches, and it's broken up into like 3 small little theaters. I wasn't impressed at all. You talk about
I actually like they have upstairs they have like small theaters, like 10 people or whatever. I mean, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's okay. I think
I liked it better than you did. Okay.
I like, of course, what the Colonial Theater did, and some people still haven't been into the showroom, the building behind the Colonial Theater.
Well, that
is a gorgeous building.
That they did it right.
Yep. No, it did a good job.
The Latches, they did it, and not that didn't do it right. They just took what they had and they just painted it and
had a couple nails, a couple pieces of lumber, and put it together.
Yeah, but no, the sad thing is, though, and I do believe this, from Peterborough to Brattleboro, if we're all doing well, if one's doing, we're all stronger for it. If Brattleboro's doing well, that has a reflection over here, because if people are going to come over here too, mm-hmm. and if Peterborough is doing well, then it just, that's one of the reasons why we were, a lot of times, we said we need to help the chamber, really promote the region here. And you know what? I was on a meeting this morning, and we were talking about Matrix, and are we getting the clicks? Are we getting the viewing? Are we getting all this right? Mm-hmm. So they showed the Ice Festival. They did some direct things, and that's some of the highest viewing and clicks that they've ever had, right? What happened? This place this year for the Ice Festival was packed. There is this coordination, and even the city of Keene that was on the call said, yeah, next time if you start seeing clicks like that, tell us, because we're going to have to look at things a little differently. And 100% agreed. Yep. But I really think that it was really interesting to me, and I asked that they really take a look at talking more about this thing. Like the national average is this for clicks on a viewing of a thing, right? But we're coming in here. Okay, that's good, because we need to draw interest in, not because you draw somebody here and all of a sudden they see it and they think, I like it here. Right. I'm gonna stay here, or I'm gonna come back and visit here. Or we walked around the campus. My kid is 16 years old. I think it's a campus that we should look at. Or I didn't know they had these businesses over here. Maybe I do want to come over here, or at least see if there's any openings over here. I'm only 30 minutes away. I could drive to work every day. That's no biggie. Yeah. There's all kinds of opportunity by drawing people here. It's not just about tourism, and that's the thing we need to do. We need to honor that we're an aging population. An aging population doesn't mean...
Except you and I.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, look at me. But aging population doesn't mean that the people can't work. it means that employers actually have to look at it a little differently, because maybe they don't want to work the 40 hours, they want to work 20 hours.
Right.
And if that gets product out the door and you get somebody coming in for 20 hours a week to do what they need to do, if we stay focused here, we don't address the issues that are really happening. But if we start looking at the bigger picture, so it's young people, young families, it's middle-aged people, and families that have middle-aged people have families that are growing and moving on to the next steps. It's, how do we convince our federal delegation? How do we that you've got ability for people to pursue funding for elderly, for people with disability, all important. You even have it for people that in the arts can do some type of housing grants that they can go after through the federal government. We need to talk about students. And we've got Keene State College that has some dorms that may not be utilized at the level they need to, or may not be utilized at all right now. Why can't we turn them into apartments for college kids to stay? Do your internship, get offering of the job, get a low rent to start off with to help them, because that feeds our people over here work-wise. And we've got companies that are literally having orders come in that they can't fulfill.
Right.
And if we don't think bigger than we ever have before, then we're going to just start seeing what that means. And so we have to be aggressive, because this corner of the state has been marked as retirement, and that's great. It is awesome. But we need to figure out what that means in the bigger scheme of things, and make sure that we have the ability to address those issues.
And that's one of the reasons that I'm happy that Jay Kahn's mayor. He's been around here for a long time. B, he was the vice president of Keene State, so he sees the connection. You're right, Chris. But still in Keene, it is a lot better than it used to be. There was the Keene State them and the city of Keene us.
Yeah.
And that was it. We can still talk to a lot of people that live in Keene that have never been on the campus ever. And it can't be that way. I think one thing that's helped, especially since Melinda Treadwell became president of Keene State, of course now you have Jay as mayor of Keene, so we got a better connection. The sports programs at Keene State have helped draw people in that normally wouldn't go in. Their club hockey program, their basketball programs, the sporting events is a great way to get Keene residents onto the campus. That's a good start. So that is working somewhat. But you are right. We need to be more collaborative on it. And when you talk to parents, which I have occasionally do, when you bump into them, especially back when I owned the business, about coming to Keene State, they would say when they drove up Main Street, they knew. They came up through the college, they saw the square, and as parents, they felt comfortable about the community. They still had to go check out the college, obviously, but they felt comfortable that this is where they would feel safe dropping their child off.
Right.
So it's huge.
And here's the interesting, a town like Salem has seen a lot of growth, but that's because they're really close to Boston.
They're next door to Lawrence.
Well, they're next door to they're only 30 minutes from Boston.
Yeah, exactly. They're Boston suburb.
And so it's so they've seen some growth. But I was on a call the other day, and I'm like, what's your downtown like? Because I said, I don't ever remember Salem having really a downtown. And he's like, we don't. Because I remember going over there. I mean, I've been to Salem maybe 2 times, 3 times in my life.
The Rockingham Mall is what they have.
And he said there's a route, and on that there's a highway kind of thing, and on that road it's got every single thing that you can think of on there. But they don't really have a place of gathering, a place of, and somebody from Salem can call in and say you're wrong, but I was talking to some people that live there, and that's what their opinion was. And we do have this, and it is a selling point. It's just that we have to be careful with what we do. But you brought up something I want to segue a little bit. What's your thought about the whole basketball thing at Keene State College?
Oh, as far as the coach not being offered a permanent position because he doesn't have a bachelor's degree?
Yeah.
I made a comment on social media too. I think it's BS. Now look, okay, you have requirements through the university system. You have to have a bachelor's degree. They've known this for a while. Now, one thing, he was a longtime military guy, right? A lot of a lot of businesses, when they say we're hiring and you're going to have a bachelor's degree or work equivalent, I think the college needs to look at that, and the whole university system needs to look at that. Because technically, if you look at it, they're saying, okay, you're 22 years old, you just graduated from college, you have a bachelor's degree, you're qualified to be a coach, and maybe you played intramural basketball and you played in high school. So you're qualified, but yet this coach, who was an interim coach, who won the championship, who won Coach of the Year, who won all kinds of awards, and has life history, all of a sudden is not qualified technically because of a piece of paper. Now, what the college should do, if they're saying, okay, well, we can't give you the permanent position now, you retain him on the interim level, and you work with him to see what they can get to equal a bachelor's degree. Now, a lot of businesses that you go to, they'll look at, I've gone to businesses because I spent a long time in nuclear submarine school, and I spent 4 years on a submarine. Submarine school, when you read about everything you did in submarine school, is equal to 2 years of college. And we jammed it into like 3 months. There is no wasted classes. There's nothing, no introduction to basket weaving, you did something with literature. Everything there was, condensed and crushed, and they looked at that. When I've looked at other places, they said, yeah, we'll give you a couple years of college experience just for that school. Mm-hmm. And then they go on and look at the 3.5 years that I spent on submarines after that, what I did, work requirements, things. It was almost equal to a bachelor's degree, with the exception of a couple of things. They said, well, you'd have to take this class and that class. But we are talking just a couple of classes difference, which since I have taken at Keene State over time. So I have equal beyond a bachelor's degree of experience. In some jobs, some employers say, yes, you've got the equivalent of more than a bachelor's degree. Not to go too far down the road on this one, Keene State should do that, and that's one of their own employees. If you have to give him another year at the interim title, then give it to him. He won Coach of the friggin' Year. I mean, what else do you need to know? And like I said, with his military history, with leadership position, what he did as interim coach, they should figure out a way to keep him on board and give him the equivalent of a bachelor's degree.
So here's my thoughts. My thought is one that, and it doesn't differ a lot from you, but first and foremost, every second counts. So make a decision.
Oh, absolutely.
Make a final decision.
Interim. Make it interim right now.
And because, and I don't look to Marty Testa, who's the AD, or Melinda Treadwell, the president. This is a university system thing.
Yep, it is.
And they're following the standards that are in place. I get that, but I also think that there is a happy medium in there.
There is.
And the and every second counts, because you've got a program at its highest peak that it's been in years. Yep. And maybe ever, but at least in years. Why detract from that when kids are actually looking at coming here? Kids are actually, have come here and during the season to look at the program, and Coach Hastings has met with them. Mm-hmm. And it's a drawing power for the school on a lot of levels. It will draw other people in. And so I say, are you playing with fire on some levels and hurting yourself because of a standard? And more importantly, do you look at life experience, like you say, and see if there's common ground there? Mm-hmm. And put him on as head coach, not interim, with the idea that over the next 3 years, he'll work towards, working with whatever they come up with a plan, right, to look at life credits to see what he needs to get there, or whatever it may be. Come up with a plan, and not just get so locked in process that you don't see the bigger picture of things. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, it's going to be, it is going to be what it is going to be. I mean, you've got other coaches there that I don't know when the last time they've had like real winning seasons. So are you, some schools, it's all about winning and losing.
Right.
Other schools, it's about academic, whatever. And because their programs haven't shown to have this level of success they've had ever, or in a while, So how do you balance that all out?
And a great PR for the college too. National PR for the college.
Yeah, I mean, he's still coaching. He went down this past weekend because 2 of his players were playing in a game, or at least one of them was.
Right.
And so all I'm saying is it's maybe a missed opportunity.
I think so
that
too.
has ripple effects on bigger levels, because right now the school's getting noticed. Not just for basketball, it's getting noticed because it's getting print, it's getting out there, it's being put out there that the people that may not know anything about Keene State College are like, oh, what's that about? And and the thing is, once you get them on campus, it's like, when I went, and you probably did this too, when my daughter was looking at colleges, we went to like 9 places. It was, but there was one school, when she walked on the campus, she said, "Dad, this is where I want to be." She knew instantly.
Yeah.
And it was Hobart William Smith. Now, I was hoping that it wouldn't be that school because it was 6 hours away. But you can't change what you can change. That happens at Keene State too. It's a gem of a school. It's got great teachers. It's got a good leader right now. It's got some good rhythm going right now with it, and the facilities are really great.
Mm-hmm.
So build on that. Continue to build on that. That's all I say.
Building on that, you talk about just the basketball, with the hockey too, with the club program, which I'm a loyal fan of their club program. They went to the Nationals.
Yeah.
Just like the basketball team. Bobby Rodriguez took him to the Nationals. Now next year he takes over the.
Did they win their first game? Did they lose the second?
Yeah,
game?
They get eliminated. They had, I think it's 5-4. But
that's tough.
Kind of like the basketball team, they made Little Keene made it to 2 national tournaments.
Yeah, but the bigger story there is they're playing like in the scheme of things. I get it's club, but they are playing Division I schools all season long.
Oh yeah.
Division II, Division I, and Division III schools all season long. UVM, Notre Dame, Boston University, whatever it is, they're playing all these.
Oh yeah.
And then they go to the
cities.
Nationals and they're playing, these it's actually quality
Oh yeah,
hockey.
I think they lost one game is to Miami of Ohio, which is a huge school.
Yeah.
But next year they become NCAA Division III, which Bobby's going to coach.
Right.
And they've already, because they've been to the Nationals, and because of Keene Ice too, in the Keene State spending $1 million on Keene Ice.
Yeah.
More draw as we get back to that, and of course, what has that got to do with Keene? It brings revenue into the city.
Yeah.
Hockey tournaments, basketball tournaments, they bring money into the city.
But it also brings students.
Absolutely.
I know people that from this area that went to UNH. They went to UNH because they wanted they went to a hockey game and they fell in love with the atmosphere at the hockey games where they throw the fish out, all that jazz. Yeah. And so I just say that it's I know it's all hard decisions, and this is not easy, and especially for the Hastings family, what they're going through right now with the unknowns that they may not know. I just hope that the university system as a whole takes a look at this and says, what makes sense? Is there a happy medium? Is there middle ground that we can get to, that so that coach can continue to do what he's doing? Because he's already got an audience of people coming through that door.
Yeah.
That are interested in Keene State College for next year because he's there.
Yep.
Because he got them to where they got them to this year.
No, I'm hoping they do the right thing. I mean, they can't be blinded by this. Melinda Treadwell, a good president. I know I think they were a little premature announcing that he couldn't come back. I think they should have kept that behind closed doors for a while before they said that. Because
who knows what the university system dictates and all that jazz. Who really knows? But it was just to be so high to be brought down so quickly was just. So I hope that they figure it all out. Because I do have the utmost respect for the 2 individuals in leadership, and I don't know Coach Hastings well. All I know is that he put a winning product on the floor, and the guys fought for him every night. Yep. And that says a lot about a coach.
Yep. Actually, my son Sean, he's a professor at Keene State now. When he's not working full time for his law firm, he teaches constitutional law at night there now. What an interesting class to be teaching right now, constitutional law. So,
I'd like to go to that class.
Yeah, you know what? I've talked to him about the class, about the students. He said, yeah, they're into it.
Yeah.
They're into it, and he teaches a good class. He says, yeah, you don't want to have it boring. You don't want the kids falling asleep. But constitutional law now, with everything that's going on, and the word Trump being out there, he's good. He said, well, the good thing about it is he has a lot of things that he can talk about.
Yeah.
Because every week Trump brings something else up has to do with the Constitution and constitutional law.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you want to talk to somebody that knows the Constitution. Yeah, it's my son. He knows it pretty well.
On a side note, a keen kid doing well. Still early in the season, I get it, but so Megan Malloy, her parents Jack and Kathy Malloy. She is the head coach for Swanzey Regina down in Newport, where she's coaching the college team, girls lacrosse team. She was at Wheaton for years as an assistant. She played at Keene State College for her 4 years, and they're in a different league, a tougher league this year, and as of this past weekend, they're 6-1 on the season.
Wow!
So in her first year, and so it's good to see,
Yep, good to see local done good.
Yeah.
And the great thing, that's the good part of social media. They can keep in touch too. Whereas before you'd have to read an article in the paper.
Yeah.
It's funny talking about social media because they put a note down here about today's social media and artificial intelligence and how what's real and what's not. It's crazy.
I think when we went to these things, it was really putting the world at risk.
I agree.
I think this is an addiction like any other addiction out there.
Yep.
And
we're guilty. I'll plead guilty too, because you're always looking at this damn thing.
And my thing is that I get it. I get, at nighttime when I'm just going through looking at stuff, and my wife's on the other side. But we try not to do. We work hard at it, but in restaurants, it's in our pockets. It's not out on the table.
Yeah.
But I see so many people.
They'll be having dinner with somebody and they'll be doing this while they're having dinner with somebody.
I have stopped conversations, waited, just to make them feel uncomfortable. Because it's just like, if I'm doing that and then all of a sudden you're picking up your phone, nothing's that important. I mean, we've been around long enough to know that we used to have staff meetings and we didn't have phones. So if there was a crisis at one of the houses, they called the main office. The main office got in touch with us and we had to deal with it then. And it's just like now all of a sudden, it's not anything but like their child reaching out to them for not any reason, just because. And in a meeting, it's like, no, that's not appropriate.
Right.
This is it's work time. It's just and because people that own these Twitter or
TikTok.
X or what everybody's focused on TikTok, and I get that, but X isn't much better. Facebook has
Elon Musk is not somebody to emulate. The guy, he didn't start Tesla. It wasn't his company. He just had the money to be able to buy it.
They did an article I read about it that his chief operating officer is actually, and I can't remember his name. I'll look it up. But I read the article, and it's his chief operating officer is the main guy and all that.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, Musk got some family money, and fortunate, but he's just one of these people that you get so few people, especially if you control social media and you control the artificial intelligence right now, you control the world. You really do.
Yeah.
Because how many times do you read, Chris? You and I, when we read things, it'll usually be factual and you'll have something to back it up. I'll engage with some people on social media, not too often now. I kind of avoid conversations on social media. But I get involved with the ones when they'll say, well, the city said this and the city said that. And I'm like, no, city never said that. Well, I read on the internet. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Let's stop the conversation. You saw on the internet. No fact check, didn't do any background check. They read on the internet.
Or they can say, in this day and age, they can say whatever they want, whether it's factually has any truth to it or not, and it just it's so overwhelming too, though. It's disgusting, but it's so overwhelming because it's everywhere.
Oh, it's exhausting. It's exhausting. And so much now. In your, you're the county administrator right now. I'm an elected official. It's exhausting having conversations with people, just trying to tell them what the truth is. Mm-hmm. Because, and especially from the Trump area, where everything, that's fake news. Even if you have something here and you show them in black and white, this is what it really is. Like, no, that's fake news. It's tough.
My thing is that we're just too easy to go the route of just saying it's not true, or
right. Fake news.
I was watching. I like watching shows over again series like West Wing. I just like watching it because I thought it was so well written, and as I also like The Office. I watched that, but that's more for laughter.
Yeah.
But I was watching The West Wing, and President Bartlett was running for re-election. He was in a debate, and the guy that was running against him, which is I think Brolin, who's married to Streisand now, but he was acting as the guy that was running against him, said, and we can't have taxation. We're taxing our taxes. Did a tax. It was like just this catchphrase that everybody uses, and Bartlett interrupts him and says, "And there it is. There it is. That is the phrase. Now, here's the problem with the phrase that is, what's the next 10 words? And what's the next 20 words after that? And what's the next 100 words after that? What's your plan?" And that's where they fail. That's where they fail. And that's where the trick is that they say a phrase and everybody says, "That's right. Government's broken."
Yeah. How do you fix it?
This, da. And on some levels, people are right. There's real struggles in government right now. But if you get down to the dirty details and say, when you needed them, were they there? I can say yes. Others may say no. But when we needed them, we said yes. So, but it's just that these catchphrases that's what drives me nuts. Is that they throw it out and people take it as religion.
Yep.
They use it as religion. And that's I mean, I could go on and on and on about this. It's just I'm just so disappointed because I do believe in a strong, healthy two-party system. I think, and I've said this before, I think we govern best when we're in the middle,
right,
and not on the fringe.
I'd love to see a healthy three-party system, but
fringe, yeah. The problem with is that I don't.
The wingnets control the narrative.
Well, a few control many.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can see that on so many fronts right now, and that's, to me, that's just all wrong. And it's just, we should be governed, and there's so much we should be doing right now across the board, and it's nasty. I see it locally. Mm-hmm. I see it on the state level, and I see it nationally, and I see it worldwide.
Yeah. Well, locally, people have to get involved at basic levels. I get it. Everybody's tired. Everybody's maxed out. I hear I don't have time. So, okay. We just did a school budget, and 95% of Keene's population didn't vote. Didn't show up. 95%. Would in and out literally in a minute, maybe 2 minutes. So if 95% of your population are not going to get involved even to vote, that allows, as you're talking about, the extreme wingnuts to get their foot in the door. We're fortunate that Keene does pay attention to that, but I was reading, where was it, Marlow, Chris? Marlow had 6 people show up, I think. 6. Now we talk about Croydon, what happened up there.
Yeah.
Some of the wingnuts pay attention, and they go, "We show up with 10 people, we own it."
Yeah, but you have Walpole, where you had 186 people show up, which was over 20% of the voting population.
Which in a way sounds good, but it still says 80%.
It's better than what it could. Yeah,
no,
it's
better.
Right. But what does it mean? Here's what it means. If people don't show up, they don't get involved. Here's what it means, and this is something that the city of Keene puts out. Okay, so this is factual information. where your Keene property taxes goes.
Mm-hmm.
Schools, $16.60 if you add on the state. I'm guessing you're adding on the state along with that.
Mm-hmm.
That's 55%. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
City of Keene, $12.37. That's 41%.
Mm-hmm.
County, $1.22. That's 4%. So what does that mean? Property value of $300,000 house. Property tax distributed as follows: $366 goes to Cheshire County. $3,711 goes to the City of Keene. $4,980 goes to the schools.
Mm-hmm.
So when people they complain about stuff, get involved.
Absolutely.
Because the other side of it is not about getting involved so you can cut taxes. It's getting involved to come up with ways to see how. I mean, you may have some real good thoughts about how you can budget projects, how you can budget, whatever it may be. Or I mean, it's just, if you don't get involved, if you don't get out and vote, then
exactly. I mean, like I said, 95% didn't show up, and it's a mindset. And now the general election coming up will probably in Keene will probably be maybe 60%. It'll be in the. I'm predicting that this year in the presidential election, even though people are just sick of it already, when push comes to shove for the general election, I say about 60% in Keene are going to go, and there's not going to be a lot of gray area there. Mm-hmm. I'm not really sure which one I want. That's not going to be the case. That mindset should be for local elections too. And I joke with people. I say, especially national elections, usually you vote somebody and things, the wheel still turns slowly in Washington. But local elections, it's immediate. In the school board election, the budget is a prime example, where a handful of people showed up and added $500,000 to the budget. 60 people out of 23,000 in Keene, 15,800 registered voters. About 60 people increased it $500,000. It passed. I talked about this before. I was concerned that added money wouldn't pass, but the 5% that showed up to vote voted for an additional $500,000. The school board will appropriate it as the voters wanted, because that's what we do. But
yeah,
that's a danger, because it also can go the other way when you have that small of a group show up. They can say, you know what, we don't want to fund teachers. As outrageous as it sounds, they could have had the votes.
Yeah.
So you just got to get involved at the basic level. As frustrating as politics can be, and it is frustrating, and from being there, there's some nights that I'm just like, oh my God, why am I doing this again? Because somebody has to do it.
Right.
But, Keene, we're fortunate. The ones that do run, seem to have, the right mentality in place. But, you get towns, like I said, Marlow, with 6 people show up. That's scary. Because you're just assuming, just like the 95% of the people in Keene assumed those that show up will do the right thing. Really, you're assuming that many dollars on your neighbor that they're going to vote and you're not going to have to. But like it's a mental attitude. We've got to change it. And as you started talking right there, and when people feel more in tune with your community, I think that helps. But we need to work on that. We need to get more people involved. Some people don't vote because they think it doesn't matter, but it does matter. The perfect example of that is you talk about how much money is spent on the schools. Well, if we could get a legislature up there and a governor that actually supported public schools, these tax rates would go way down. But we're dead last in the state, 50 out of 50th, right behind Arkansas and Mississippi. And if we doubled, double the money, we'd still be last.
And we still have some of the best scores countrywide
because we have the best people working there.
And that's
right.
A credit to them.
We have a loyal teaching base.
But I still, and I know we've got about 2 minutes, so I'll make this quick. But I still struggle with the idea that the state has the what is it, the American or the Freedom account.
Yeah, the Freedom accounts. Yeah, for charter schools,
for
religious schools,
and private schools.
Private schools,
and they ship it off to a third party. So they send the money out to the third party. So we don't really have a true understanding in my world of thinking. Nobody's been able to tell me when I've asked this question,
right,
how is it being spent? Can we have a breakdown of where that money is going? A clear breakdown. I want to see. I don't need to have names. I can names of individuals, but I'd like to know schools it's going to. I'd like to, but they don't have to because it's almost like I don't know. It's like they're putting money. They did it this way so that it's harder to trace.
Right.
And everything else has to be so accountable. How are they like accepting that this is okay when everything else is so accountable?
Well, especially in public schools.
I don't understand that.
The accountability that's required in public schools, and as we've talked about before, then you get the unfunded mandates. They say, why are you spending so much money in the public schools? Because you mandate it. You just don't pay for it. And we talked about this before too, Chris. Every time the legislature meets up in Concord, they throw something else out. Yeah. They vote something, and thank God I'm not on the policy committee for the school board anymore, because that committee drove me crazy. Because every month, here's a new mandate from the state, and you got to give it to your attorney to figure out what it means.
Yeah, and we got about 25 seconds.
Yeah,
so
we do.
That's the show for this week. And we'll be back next week with another show.
By the way, Kevin Watterson wants to come on next week and talk swamp bats for a while with us.
And then Luca has said that he'd like to come on.
Okay, we got two guests next week, 30 minutes each?
No, because I don't want to cut one or the other. One will come one week, the other one will come the other week.
We'll flip a coin.
Have a great week, everybody.
See ya. Out of here.